Hello everyone, welcome back to Changfied YouTube channel, your trusted source for latest update across South Sudan and beyond. In this report, we'll talk about many things. This reporting is very serious. It is about war, civilian suffering, politics, and the future of South Sudan. In this report, we'll talk about evacuation order in Jonglei state by the SSPDF. We will also look at the warning about attack on civilian, violence near Bor IDP camp, a secret request made by South Sudan to the United States, and we will look at a strong call for ceasefire from civil society group. Before we move on, please help the channel by subscribing and turn on the notification bell so whenever we upload a new video, you can be notified. Let's start with civilian order to leave Jonglei. South Sudan main opposition group SPLA-IO has accused government force of planning attack against North civilian in Jonglei state. According to the opposition, the government army, SSPDF, South Sudan People Defense Force, ordered civilian and humanitarian organization to leave some part of Jonglei state. This order came after a strong and frightening word from senior military commanders. Last week, General Johnson Ulun, a senior army commander, spoke to his soldier in Duke County. During that speech, General Johnson Ulun told his soldier, Agwelek Force and some of SSPDF not to spare anyone. Johnson Ulun mentioned the elderly, animals, and even home. This word caused fear across Jonglei state. Soon after, the SSPDF spokesperson, Major General Lure Kong, announced that civilians in Ural, Uror, and Akobo counties must leave within 48 hours and move to government-controlled areas. The army say this was for civilian safety, but many people do not believe this explanation. The SPLA-IO say the evacuation order is not for safety, but a cover-up. As SPDF, they are trying to cover up a genocide that they want to commit. Post Buz Balwang, the SPLM-IO Director of Information and the government, he said the government is trying to protect its image after a public call to attack civilians. He warned that such order can lead to ethnic targeting and serious human rights violations. He said clearly, we have a moral duty to protect civilians in Jonglei and across South Sudan. The SPLA-IO or the opposition believe this is part of a wider plan that put innocent life at risk. They also say such action violate international humanitarian law. Humanitarian group raise alarm. Civil society activists and workers are very worried. They say ordering humanitarian organizations and UN staff to leave can make the situation worse. Peter Ajak, a civil society activist from Bor community within Bor County, explained that the presence of 8 agencies often protect civilians. When humanitarian workers are present, soldiers think twice before attacking. Civilians feel safer and human rights abuse reduced. He warned that If a group leave, there will be more killing, sexual violence, forced recruitment, looting, and arbitrary arrests. He also say women, children, the elderly, and people with disabilities will suffer the most. In Akuba County, there is no active fighting right now, but still, humanitarian work is already stopping. Nialinyot, the relief and rehabilitation coordinator in Akobo, say the evacuation order came from Juba, not from the ground. Because of that, international staff are leaving. National staff from other states are leaving, and aid services are slowing down within those areas. At the same time, more than 1,600 displaced people have arrived in Akobo from Uror and Lanken. Well, you know, these people need food, medicine, clean water, and shelter. If they stop, hunger will rise. Niall Nyot warned that people may be forced to flee to Ethiopia. He explained that hospitals in Akobo depend fully on humanitarian support. If aid agencies leave, hospital will close. No medicine, no salaries for health workers. People are afraid. They say this is their home, but they fear attack from army group on both sides. Opposition promised to aid agencies. The SPLA-IO has promised that humanitarian organizations are safe in areas under their control. Pogboth Balwang said aid agencies are very important for civilian and wounded people. He urged them to continue their work and not abandon the population. Now let's move on. Violence near Bor IDP camp. Now let's turn to Bor town in Jonglei state. A tragic incident happened outside the Bor IDP camp. One Nuer man was killed and two other Nuer were missing. They were attacked while collecting firewood outside the camp. James Chakwin Galwak, a community leader, said, who is also inside the camp, said the attack happened on January 22nd, 2025. He believed the violence is linked to the fighting in northern Jonglei between government force, South Sudan People Defense Force, and SPLA-IO. This was not the first incident, they said. Earlier, a man was attacked and robbed of his phone, a motorbike was stolen, and shares were looted from a resident. The IDP leaders condemned the attack and asked authorities in Jonglei to improve security. So far, no group has claimed responsibility, but according to the leader, they say they are blaming a Red Bell group because those who attack these Nuer civilians who are living in IDP camp, they are people with guns or they have weapons with them. We mean that they are part of the ongoing fight in Jonglei. So it is just a systematic way of targeting Nuer civilian in Bor town, according to the leader. The Bor IDP camp was created in 2013 during the Civil War. It was first run by the United Nations as a protection of civilian site. In 2020, it was handed over to the government and renamed as IDP camp. At the same time, or at that time, authorities said security had improved, but residents are raising serious questions. What we see today is a country still struggling with fear, violence, political conflict, civilian suffering. This is very serious within Jonglei state, and the community are asking for protection so that no life can lose again. Let's move on. South Sudan and the United States secret request. This is a very important message that I'm about to share with you. Now we move to Juba, where a new document have revealed a very sensitive issue between South Sudan and the United States. According to a document seen by journalists, the government of South Sudan, led by President Salva Kiir Mayardit, asked the United States for political support in exchange for accepting deportees from America. Last year, South Sudan agreed to receive people deported from the US, even if they were not South Sudanese. This decision surprised many people and raised serious concern. In July 2025, South Sudan became the first African country to accept deportees from the United States who came from other countries. Later, countries like Rwanda, Ghana, Eswatini, and Equatorial Guinea also accepted deportees. A total of 8 men were sent to South Sudan by then. And these men, they included nationals from Mexico, Cuba, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, and South Sudan. Before arriving in Juba, these men were held for a week on U.S. military base in Djibouti. A U.S. court had temporarily blocked their deportation, which delayed their transfer later. One South Sudanese man was released. One Mexican man was sent back to his country. 6 others remain in Juba. Until now, the government has not explained what will happen to them. A human rights organization strongly criticized this arrangement. They warned that South Sudan could become a dumping ground for unwanted deportees. They also questioned why South Sudan accepted them, what they receive in return, and how the deportees will be treated. Well, the government has not provided clear answers, but now leaked documents show what South Sudan wanted from the US, what benefit they needed in accepting these deportees. In a confidential letter dated May 12, 2025, after or before the arrest of first Vice President Dr. Machar, South Sudan listed 8 major requests to the United States. That is after they arrested first Vice President. South Sudan government requests 8 major requests to the United States in order to accept these deportees. Well, these requests include easier U.S. visas for South Sudanese citizens. Second, support to build a rehabilitation center in South Sudan. Third, help in dealing with army civilians. And fourth, lifting sanctions on South Sudanese companies. But 2 requests shock many people. One major request was U.S. support for the prosecution of Dr. Machar. This is very serious. This is the major request. Dr. Machar is the leader of the opposition and the suspended first Vice President. He is facing serious charges including treason, murder, and other crime. These charges are linked to the violence in Nasser Upper State, where the White Army attacked government base. The government said Machar is responsible, but Machar supporters strongly denied this. They say the charges are politically motivated. Many civil society groups and activists agree with them. They say this is politically motivated based on how the procedure has been taken by the government. Dr. Riek Machar was President Salva Kiir deputy before they fell out in 2013. That disagreement led to a brutal civil war. In 2018, a peace agreement brought Machar back into government as a vice president. That peace deal promised power sharing, political dialogue, and protection from political persecution. Many people believe persecuting Machar break that agreement. The United Nations say that since the violence increased again, more than 1,800 people were killed in just 9 months in 2025. The United Nations has warned that South Sudan is close to returning to full civil war. Well, another shocking request was to lift a U.S. sanction on Benjamin Bullmehl, a former vice president. Bullmehl is accused by the United Nations of stealing more than $1 billion from South Sudan. Well, the money that Bullmehl stole, they were meant for road construction, infrastructure, and public development. Instead, it allegedly went into companies he wanted for control it. The company that he controlled, that's what I mean. All the money that he stole from South Sudan, this money that were supposed to build road, infrastructure, public development, all of them went into his company that he controlled, or the company that are controlled by Benjamin Bullmehl. Bullmehl was once very powerful. Many people believe he was being prepared as a President Kiir successor. But in November, he was removed from office and placed under house arrest. He also believed that to have played a role in pushing for much hard persecution. In the same document, South Sudan also asked the U.S. to lift sanctions on oil companies, encourage foreign investment, invest in oil, mineral, and agriculture in South Sudan. The government of South Sudan say this would help the economy, but critics say corruption and insecurity remain the biggest obstacle within the country. So far, the U.S. Embassy in Juba has not commented. South Sudan Foreign Affairs Minister refused to discuss the document. They say they can only comment on official document from their office. This silence has raised more questions than answered. So, what this means for South Sudan? These revelations show how international politics affect local conflict, how justice can be used as a political weapon, and how civilians continue to suffer while leaders negotiate power. Many South Sudanese are now asking, is peace still possible with justice system serving, and who is persecuting or protecting ordinary people? When you look at the situation, it moved. The situation is out of control in some part of South Sudan. Now we turn to a strong and emotional warning from South Sudanese civil society. A well-known Edmund Yakane has spoken out. Yakane is the executive director of Community Empowerment for Progress Organizations, also known as SEPO. Is calling on President Salva Kiir Mayardit to declare an immediate ceasefire. His message is simple but serious. The situation is out of control. Yakane warned that South Sudan is close to sliding back into full civil war. He said fighting between the SSPDF and SPLIO is increasing fast. According to him, this violence is destroying the 2018 peace agreement. He shared his statement with local media and said that the signs are very clear. The country is not moving toward peace. It is moving toward more war. Yakane listed many places where heavy clashes have been reported. This include Narus in eastern Equatoria, Panyum in central Equatoria, Wat, Yuai, Uro, Nirol, Pajud in Jonglei state. These areas are home to thousands of civilians. Many of them are now running into the bush to save their life. Yakane says civilians are suffering the most. He explained that people are being injured, going hungry, getting sick with malaria, and living without medicine or aid. He says many families are hiding in forests with no support, no food, no health care, and no protection, all because of fighting they did not choose. Yakane strongly criticized leaders and commanders. He said political problem cannot be solved with gun. He warned that military solution only bring more death, more hatred, and more division. Yakani said innocent citizens in Jonglei and Equatorial State are paying a very heavy price. According to Yakani, the current violence is destroying trust. It is weakening the commitment to the revitalized peace agreement. And he said that if fighting continues, the peace deal may collapse, or just it is already collapsed. An mediation process may be forced, and election may not happen. This is very dangerous for the country's future. Yakani directly addressed President Salva Kiir Mayardit. He asked the President Salva Kiir Mayardit to show wisdom, stop fighting and save the country. He said leadership is about protecting citizens, not pushing them into war. Yakani presented 3 clear demands to calm the situation. First, immediate and total ceasefire. All fighting must stop now. Second, inclusive political dialogue. All political groups must sit and talk. Third, release of political detainees. People detained for political reasons must be freed. And finally, say these steps are necessary to restore trust. Yakani warned that continued violence makes election impossible. And he stated that there can be no free, fair election during war. There can be no fair voting when people are displaced. There can be no peace when guns are louder than voices. Civil society groups fear the country is not ready. Yakani's message was not only for the president, it was for all political and military leaders. He said leaders must choose dialogue instead of bullet, peace instead of power, and people instead of position. He reminded them that history will judge their decision. South Sudan is standing at a dangerous point right now. One path leads to peace, dialogue, and stability. The other one leads to war, suffering, and collapse. The choice is in the hand of leaders, but civilians are the ones paying the price. Gwasime bana metod bana jalat katin kon lat korodian re wicha ka South Sudan. Ate kon ke ripon tungwana de kon keling chemana na ngai kon diale en go kum South Sudan che woniam re roanti kon lat korodian. Ban report ni ambana jaling kokore bana na ambana jekek. Jo ne ambana kwen gwasime bala mandan le rode ke kwikur dan le rode gwasime. But take some serious information tishala te kume muraike Dr. Yang Machar no kata dana dong wungwane keje. GSPLIO shika right kamana shalat nation contin la kume SSPD apchikala duone ne man chala den wo de evacuation de jalat ka akobo kan wi diale kokien kan statement ana shalat kume muraike kirmi yadi de no terambi kan pel amenele bikan kanak chikana condemn kan na me a systematic way me ba natin kolan wer civilian ba kan keje report me agenda na gore de nyu akon kel bela lunjok ke report odien ani ban je kum rodien abiate kamal bye bye.